Hi, I'm Mark Richmond from Chef Knives to Go, and today I'm going to sharpen a Takeda knife, Takeda Gyuto, and I'm going to use a couple stones that don't get a lot of action on our website but are really good, and thought I'd demonstrate them and show you what they can do. So the knife I'm going to be using is this one. This is made by Shosui Takeda. And this is my personal knife. I actually gave this knife a couple weeks ago to a line cook down the street at a place called Lombardino's, which is one of my favorite places to eat. And I told him to go and have fun with it and take it to work and use the hell out of it, and he did. So as you can see, the knife is still, it's okay sharp, and I would probably still use it, but it's not sliding through paper anymore. It doesn't shave, and that's expected. If you have a pro using your knife for a few weeks, passing it around in his kitchen, it's going to get a lot of use, and inevitably it'll go dull on you. So the stones I'm going to be using are these. This is the Imanishi 1K. One of the best stones that doesn't ever get purchased, and the reason why is because people don't know about it, and if they don't know about it and they're not recommending it to their friends, they tend not to sell. But you'll see in a minute, this is a really good stone, and I'm going to follow. That's a 1K stone, and I'm going to follow it up with this stone. This is the Blue Aoto. This is kind of an interesting stone. It's a mix of synthetic, mostly synthetic, but also some natural stone powder, and they mix it together. They cook these kind of like loaves of bread, and that mix of material makes this an interesting stone. It gives a really nice finish. It's kind of soft, you'll see, and that's about a 2K stone. Why am I using a 1K and 2K? Well, number one, I'm going to demonstrate these, and I think both these stones need a little attention, but also a 2K, finishing on a 2K stone is a really nice edge for most kitchen knives. I'm going to also strop on the stone on a horsebutt strop here with nothing on it, just to finish the edge. This will give you a nice toothy edge that will last a good while, and hopefully it'll pass the paper test when we're done. So let's have at it. I'm going to do a quick little flattening job on my stones. Stones really don't need it, but I do it out of habit, and I also, on new stones, these edges are usually kind of sharp, and you can wobble a little bit on the stone, and you hit the edge. Sometimes it'll affect your sharpening job just a little bit. So nothing big, just want to get a little mud on there, get it started. We'll do this one while we're at it. Now you can see this one starts. This one is a very muddy stone. And I give you some tips on how to sharpen with softer stones like this. There's a couple things you have to be aware of when you work them. So this one will stay in my tub of water. Put this down here for now. I'm using a Nanawa sink bridge here. This is available on our site on Chef Knives to Go. This stone is just a little bit too short to accommodate this. And there's a variety of little tricks you can do to build it out real quick. I'm just going to take another stone that's not too thick. I suppose I could use it this way without this little quick fix here, but then the stone will rattle around on the bridge, so that'll work. And here we go. So Shosui's knives are kind of interesting. They the way he does the edge, he actually sharpens this flat. So this bevel is the primary bevel, goes right down to the edge. So to find it, it's pretty easy. You just kind of push on it until you hit that big bevel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this knife over the stone a little bit, and it should contact the edge without lifting it at all once I'm on it. And typically what you want to do here is you want to sharpen a little bit, and then you want to check what you're doing. And so I've gotten a fair amount of this oxidation off, and we're just starting to get a burr on some of the knife, but it's not nearly done here. So be patient on your lowest grit stone before you start moving up in your progression. There's a number of little mistakes that people make when they first start sharpening, and jumping up from your lowest grit stone too quickly before you get the edge ground is one of those little mistakes that happen. Not the end of the world, but what happens is if you don't do enough work on the first stone, then the finer stones won't have the cutting power to finish the edge. You should think of the lower grit stone as the one that's doing most of the work, and the higher grit stones are basically there to refine the edge, not really to create a new one. Okay, we're definitely getting burr way up here, all the way down to about here. I'm not feeling it down here. I'm feeling a little bit on the heel of the knife. I'm going to concentrate right in the middle. I'm going to push a little harder than I normally do just because I'm kind of in a hurry. I don't want the video to run out. You can probably hear the sound change a little bit when I lift the knife just a tiny bit to hit the edge. That sound right there is me on the edge. If I lower it just a tiny bit, it'll slide. Alright, much better. I've got a burr most of the edge here. Let me give it a little more. Now if I were using a lower grit stone than this is normally a middle grit stone for me. I usually will use a 400 grit stone or a 500 grit stone. Start first with that, but no matter, you just have to sharpen a little longer. There we go, we got a really good burr all the way up and down this knife except for the very end of the tip, which is common. What I'm doing is I'm just feeling the back side of this. I'm sharpening on this side and I'm feeling on the opposite side for scratching against the pads of my finger. That's the way you find a burr. It's much harder to find a burr on a higher grit stone because it doesn't cut as well. Just like what we were talking about. I'm going to try to take that burr off a little bit, and then we'll start on this side. There's a number of ways you can remove the burr. You have a deburring block on the site that works really well. In a pinch I use synthetic cork. Works okay. All kinds of stuff will work. Now I'm not even going to have to sharpen as much on this side because I've already hit the burr on the other side, so I have a one-sided edge basically. You'll notice I'm not ambidextrous, but when I sharpen I am. It feels awkward to me to flip the knife over and put the spine away from me. And when I first learned, I kind of was on my own and I tried to figure out which way felt better to me, and this feels more natural to me. Now, as I thought, I have a good burr on this side now. So now I know I have a ground edge on one side, a ground edge on the other, and a little burr that's moving along up the knife here, which I'm going to take off right now. And I'm going to just make sure I take it off by going back on the stone, flipping it over, and giving it a few edge trailing strokes on both sides. Now I'm going to feel again. I can actually feel, I still feel a little burr here. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to go back, run it through a little bit more aggressively through the cork. This isn't our final stone, of course, so it's not that critical to take the burr off, but I like to have a nice clean edge before I move up. So that's it for this stone. Probably not going to need this spacer any longer. Now we're going to move on to the Blue Aoto. This is plenty big, so I don't need a stopper in the back to build out the bridge. And we're going to go nice and slow here. Because this is a softer stone, I'm going to use way less pressure. If you push hard, you snowplow into the softer stone, and the stones start just like a snowplow, and you start grinding into the stone, and that curls the edge up. So you really want to go nice and easy. I'm putting almost no pressure on this stone. Okay, so I've done a few passes. I should have refined the edge by now. Find out. 2K stones will still give you a little burr. There's barely one on here. It's harder to tell. Give it a little more. Okay, got a little one. Doesn't matter that much to me at this point. Okay, so I'll run it through a few more times here. Checking the burr on both sides at the same time, and I can't feel anything. Just to make sure, I'm going to do some edge trailing strokes. This also is called stropping on the stone. So it's the same motion, you're just going backwards, not forward against the stone. And it also, it will deburr the knife for you, but it also refine the edge. As you sharpen, you tend to have little imperfections. When you're sectioning, you'll sharpen a little bit more on some parts and a little less on others. This will give you a little evening out of the edge as you do it. And I'm going to do this again with the horse butt strop in a second. Alright, so pretty much I'm done now. If I did okay, I should have a sharp knife at this point, which would be perfectly good to use. I'll just go in and, since I have the strop, what this will do is it'll further refine the edge. You'll get a little bit cleaner slice, and hopefully it'll make the edge stay sharp a little longer. You want it kind of a toothy edge, at least I do, but you also want it to be refined enough so that the teeth don't immediately break off when you start using it, and you end up with a dull knife real quick. So, all right, so I have some choices here about where to put it. I'm going to use the back of my DMT plate here. I'm just going to lay it on the table, make sure it's dry. The strops we sell bases for, and they have a magnetic pad on the back side, which you'll see in a second. And they'll stick to most anything, the base, but they'll also stick to the back of a DMT plate. You can see this has a little magnet on the back. So anyways, the back of a DMT plate works really well actually as a holder for the strop. It's a little tricky, you know, if you're sloppy, I guess you could hit the corner of the plate, which would be a bad thing. But we're not going to do that. So we're going to use that same stroke that I was talking about. We're going to use a edge trailing stroke, or a strop motion. Now when I told you I wasn't putting much pressure on the last stone, the Blue Aoto goes double for this. You really want to just use basically the weight of the knife, if you can, on here. If you overdo it with pressure, you can mess up the edge just a little bit. Hard knives like this steel is very hard. Aogami Super Steel that Shosui uses is very hard. There's not much of a chance you're going to roll the edge if you're too aggressive on here, but it's a good thing to do in general, is to use light pressure, nice smooth stroke where you're hitting the whole edge in one stroke, back to front, back to front, just like that. Okay, pressure's on. See how I did? Well, look at that. much better than before. Let's see if it shaves. Oh yeah, pops hair right off my arm. So that's just a 1K stone. This is the Imanishi 1K. And I followed this with the Blue Aoto. And then I stropped with the horsebutt 11 by 3 inch strop. And I'm using my Takeda Gyuto. Fun, huh? Thanks a lot. Stay sharp.